Imagine the pain and fear you'd feel if your child, your sibling, or your parent went missing. Now imagine the hopelessness you'd feel if no one would help you find them. This is the sad reality for thousands of families of missing Indigenous people. In Wyoming alone, as we heard, where Gabby Petito's body was found, more than 700 Indigenous Americans, most of them women and girls, have been reported missing in the past decade. Many of their loved ones are still desperately searching for answers. My next guest's personal tragedy propelled her to become one of the nation's leading voices for missing and murdered Indigenous women, Abigail Echo-Hawk. Please welcome her to the show. Abigail, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We keep asking why. Why are some people invisible to the news media? Why do you believe this is the case with Indigenous women and girls when these numbers are staggering?
Yeah, it's one of these crises that I think has been so invisible to the rest of the United States. Indigenous women and girls are more likely to go missing, and yet nobody looks for us and nobody hears about us. One of the things that we have to think about is that this country, this United States, has been working to eliminate and to displace American Indians and Alaska Natives because they want our resources and our land. And what's happened as a result of that is our women were seen as disposable and we are invisible. And so what happens when we go missing, have been murdered, or otherwise experience violence, nobody listens, nobody cares, and very little is ever done.
I have to tell you, Abigail, I learned about this only as a result of my work with survivors of domestic violence. That's how I learned these numbers, not through my life as a reporter, but my life as an advocate. And I think that's troubling that all these years of being in the news media, I didn't know it until I started working with survivors.
Yeah, it's one of the issues that we see nationwide is that we have some of the highest rates of domestic violence and sexual assault, and yet very few people know about it. As a survivor of sexual assault myself, who experienced these rapes and assaults and had no response from the police as a result of me being a Native woman and a Native girl, it's something that is seen, and I wish I could say was unusual, but is unfortunately the experience of many women like myself. And it's one of the reasons that I have been driven towards doing whatever I can to ensure this kind of tragedy doesn't happen to other people. We all deserve safety and we all deserve justice.
Absolutely. I know that as a result, again, of the media having to look at itself, is that at all, when you see an opening, they say you're supposed to go right in. And that's what we're seeing, but does that help? I feel like people are now talking about it just because of the guilt the media in some ways is feeling.
Absolutely. We saw little to nothing happen as we reported more than 700 missing Indigenous peoples in the state of Wyoming. And yet one young white woman goes missing and we see this incredible response. What we're hoping for and what we are searching for is everybody deserves a response
Right.
like that. And we need the news media, we need the general public, and we need those law enforcement officials to care just as much about our bodies as they do about a young white woman.
And the thing, and that's what I really want to drive home what you said. This is about caring about everyone. This isn't saying that Gabby Petito should not have had the coverage. And I want to be clear about that so that no one tries to splinter this conversation. You are not saying that. Carmen is not saying that. Not one person is saying, don't cover her. They're saying cover us too. And that's critical.
Absolutely. As I think about the families that I've worked with, those who had young daughters who went missing and police wouldn't take police reports, they told them they were probably runaways, or people who were missing. A dear friend of mine, her mother, Leona Kinsley, has been missing for more than 20 years, and her daughter is the one who is doing the investigation, not law enforcement. What we're asking for is that we get the same coverage, that we get the same resources. And as a community, we all mourn with the family of Gabby. And in fact, we wish them, the healing that they so deserve. We deserve that for everybody.
Abigail, thank you so much for your work that you do on behalf of families who should be heard